Hey guys, what's going on? It's Ash here coming at you today in Clash Royale. I hope this video finds each and every one of you doing well. Today, as promised, we have the Mortar God back on the channel. You guys know Anaban. I put out a video about maybe 6 months sharing a deck that was very similar. It's not a new deck per se, but we did switch out Spear Goblins with Archers, or we added Spirit Goblins for Archers in this deck, bringing it down from a 3.0 to a 2.9 cost. A little bit faster, and Spear Goblins are really good right now inside this meta. But speaking of this meta, like, look at these decks, right? And you know, these are all going to be against solid opponents towards the top of ladder, guys, by the way, as I always try to do with you guys. And you know what I want to do here is really kind of hone in on the bridge spam decks and the beatdown decks and the Goizen decks, because they're everywhere and they're really annoying to go against for my free-to-play Mortar players out there. So looking out for you guys, bringing you this video, and it's going to be absolutely amazing gameplay. And the first thing you're going to want to notice, and this is like a really minor thing, but it's really huge too, right? It's one of those small things that goes a long way, is you're never ever in this meta especially going to be placing your mortar right on in the middle of the lane. You're always going to be placing it one tile over. You can see that mortar placement right there, because it's going to help you and it's going to synergize perfectly with the Tornado. The Tornado is going to be really the most important card in this deck, and usually not for that reason, usually not for the normal reason of activating the King Tower, but rather to pull units out of the line of sight of your mortar. So we're going to watch that. Really countless examples of Anaban, who is, by the way, a Nova and Mexican pro, really popular in the Mexican audience, so I do get to give a shout out to all those guys out there. But here we go. You're going to see some really good defense here, using the Knight to kind of take that first stab hit from the Prince. Prince will die. He won't reach that right tower, and then we'll take care of that Giant as well here. And obviously we haven't gotten much damage. We've gotten, what, like a tiny bit of damage to the left tower, one mortar hit. But we're going to, once we know what deck he's playing and once we're prepared and we have our cycle perfectly corrected to where we want it to be, we're going to be able to really make quick work of this deck, even though he has so many annoying counters, the Giant, the Dark Prince, and the Prince, right? He has a lot of strong, kind of beefy, tankage, high hit point type units that can distract our mortar. So you're going to see, I think starting about now, this next mortar sequence, I mean, you'll see how we handle decks like this, and really any big beatdown deck. The same rule applies for Golem decks, which are also kind of all over the place. So here we have a Knight pre-placed. We're going to split the bats in back, and here's how we're going to play this. We're going to do defensive mortar. I lied, it's not the next mortar, it's the one after this one. We're going to place a defensive mortar here, and the defensive mortar helped by the Spear Goblins on the other side, and then kind of pulling everything back with the Knight again, is again going to prevent our right tower from taking any heavy damage. Now look at the Tornado. Pre-placed Tornado to 2 tiles towards the King Tower of the opposite Princess Tower is what we're going to be wanting to do when we're going against any sort of a beatdown deck like this one. So you guys saw that, and we'll see it many times again. We're going to pre-place, our Tornado in the opposite lane, 2 tiles in from the other tower. We're going to see it again right here. Pre-place Nado. He drops the Prince, it gets pulled out of range, and again, we lock onto that left tower. So that's really going to be the answer. That Tornado play that you're going to see him do in almost every matchup today, that Tornado play mixed with placing the mortar 1 tile to the left in this circumstance, or to the right if you're going for the other tower, is really going to be the 2 keys that you need to win in this meta using a free-to-play friendly mortar deck. So obviously, once you get the tower down far enough, you can just finish it off with Spell Cycle. In this case, it's Rocket and Log. And you're going to see that if we go against a mirror match, for example, another mortar deck, which we will show in today's video, I think it will be the last replay. That one right there, yeah. We'll show that one as the last replay today, and that's going to be a good example of how to handle a mirror matchup against another mortar player. Of course, it's always going to be close if you're going against another really good player, but you'll see how to handle it. So let's watch against bridge spam here. It's kind of a different version of bridge spam. It has arrows and zap in this deck. Not that it really strongly affects us. It's actually this 3-spell variant, arrow, zap, and fireball in this deck, and you're going to see exactly how to handle this one. So once we see that battle ram in the Inferno Dragon, we pretty much know he's playing kind of the newer version of the Vietnam bridge spam deck. So we'll know exactly what cards, well, Anaban at least, will know exactly what cards he's playing from here on out. And he's going to do just really, really great work defensively between distracting and kiting. These are all keys that you guys will be able to practice when you're playing a deck like this, a 2.9 motorcycle deck in the current meta. You're going to have your work cut out for you. And you'll notice that one thing that you're not going to see Anaban doing a lot early on is overcommitting to defending his mortar. You might have noticed there in that previous sequence that there was a Dark Prince played by the opponent. He didn't Nado the Dark Prince out of there. He wasn't super aggressive with the Nado there. He also didn't play anything immediately on the Dark Prince in terms of, I think he might have added Spirit Goblins, but he didn't overcommit with the log and the bats. He saved his elixir knowing that JJ Garrington, I think that's how you say his name, might hit the other lane, which he did with the battle ram. So he saved his bats for the battle ram. Once he saw that JJ wasn't going to support that battle ram, then he was able to use his log on the left, but he didn't go like all out spamming supporting the mortar. And that's another key that we see as a common mistake for any siege user, is really over supporting and then dying in the other lane. So this time we are going to go ahead and use a log there, prevent that Dark Prince. I'm not sure if he got one hit there, but that was a really nice reset of that Inferno Dragon. Unfortunately, the Knight just a little bit too quickly moving to the left lane there, but now we have a little push of our own going down the left. And that Fireball, while it did take out the mortar and the Spirit Goblins, it did allow that Knight, it pushed the Knight, not back, but knocked front the Knight into the left tower there. So now we do another interesting tornado play here. And this is another like really next level play by Anaban. And what he did is he Nado'd the bandit to the mortar, something you almost never see. That way the bandit couldn't get a charge off on the mortar, and the tower, the Princess Tower, was able to finish off that bandit before she got any additional damage. So here we go, we're into double elixir time. You know what that means. It means every time we drop that mortar, we're going to be ready with that Nado in the opposite lane. And you saw it again there, that Nado in the same exact spot that we talked about in the last replay, and it was able to lock onto that left tower because of the mortar placement and because of that really awesome tornado play. So we cycle a Knight here, but you can see the mortar has gone unchallenged in the left lane, or at least we've been able to clean up all the challenging troops, and we get it down to 438. We're just going to go ahead and pre-place a defensive mortar just in case and finish this one off with another rocket. Alright, so this next match here is going to be against a P.E.K.K.A control deck, kind of a P.E.K.K.A spammy deck, and it's going to be another difficult matchup, and that's, again, what I kind of wanted to focus on today with you guys, because it's not, like I said, a new deck, but there's a newer meta of annoying, if you're a Mortar player, of annoying tanky cards that we kind of need to understand how to go against. So you'll see this is a good time to talk about the opening plays, and you'll see that Anaban's not afraid to make the first play with an aggressive Mortar to start things out. Oftentimes, even if you're going against a difficult deck, they won't have the proper counter in hand, and you can see we actually got that easy lock on the very first mortar of the game simply by playing it one square to the left, and the opponent wasn't able to distract it in time. So again here, we're getting a nice little bit of chip damage to start off this match, and that's something we're definitely looking for in this deck. So now, after this the E-Wiz is dead, we can basically just place another mortar there, right? Because we know he doesn't have Dark Prince in cycle. What does this guy have? Well, it turns out he has a P.E.K.K.A, but he was a little bit too late with it. Again, really aggressive on that mortar. So now we're going to have to play some adept defense here. So let's see how we handle this matchup, especially this situation. But look at the Spirit Goblins, guys. I mean, note how much damage they're doing. Spirit Goblins, aided by that log in the Princess Tower, were basically able to kill this entire push with the help of a couple spell zap and stuff as well. But you can see just how effective that was. I mean, that was a pretty lethal push in some circumstances. We shut it down. It was a P.E.K.K.A, it was a Mega Minion, and a Dark Prince, and we made pretty good work of it, just defending, you know, using the smart decisions there on defense. And you can see we already lock onto that left tower. We already get it down all the way to basically death, and that was really, really solid. And this is, you know, like I said, this is pretty high up on ladder, and, you know, just putting pressure at the right moments, you can have a lot of success with this deck. So now the opponent starts to get pretty aggressive here. So all we have to do when you get one tower down using a mortar deck is just play defense. And of course, if they zap your bats, you're going to want to, usually in most cases, you saw in the previous replays too, try to cycle to your Ice Spirit. That serves as kind of a next line of defense if you have like a charging whatever battle ram in that case coming at you. But you know, one thing we're going to do here in the opposite lane is we're going to keep the pressure on, because you know, if you're just going to sit there and spam the left lane the entire game, it's going to be annoying for us to have to defend. So after his offensive kind of pushes, we're able to go ahead and take advantage by going on a quick defense on the other lane, or excuse me, a quick offense on the other lane, and basically keeping the opponent on their toes. More importantly, preventing them from executing another big monster push on us, right? So here we go again, just a mortar in the right lane. Again, we're not trying to take down that tower. I mean, it'd be a bonus if it went down, but it's all about just putting that pressure on. The opponent can't help but laugh here, and Anaban gives the GG. Always a good sport, and that was a pretty easy match for him, and it was all about, you know, placement, timing, and aggression when needed. And you can see that even on those pushes early on in this match, it's not like he superly overcommitted to supporting that mortar. He just used great timing and was able to take advantage of the opponent before they were able to place the P.E.K.K.A down in time. That was his one big lock that he had in the middle there, or towards the early part of that match. So guys, as promised, let's go ahead and let's show against the 20 game winner here. Someone put in the comments that in my last video that, oh, Ash is saying the only 20 game winners is good. I'm sick of you, Ash, saying that. And it's like, that's not the case at all. It's very funny, this YouTube game, if you don't mind me digressing for a quick bit. It's like, I read the comments, and people were like, Ash, you never show if they're 20 game winners or not. I'd like to see that. Someone said that. So now I've started showing if they're 20 game winners, and then wouldn't you know, this morning I'm drinking my coffee at the local diner, and I go to my comments. The very first comment is, Ash, I'm sick of you disgracing other players who aren't 20 game winners, calling them no good. And I'm like, whoa, dude, I'm just trying to show that they're decent opponents. That's all, man. I'm not a 20 game winner either, okay? It's all good. All right, back to the match. So here we go, some kind of lingering Spirit Goblin value here in the right lane, and we're going to keep the pressure on. And now we know, obviously, that we're going against a mirror mortar match already. We're going to go ahead and Nado, I believe. Yeah, Nado these minions all the way from that mortar, just buying time for those Spirit Goblins to clean up that miner as well. This guy, Mateus JFZN from Nova, Brazil, is really, really good too. So this is a really good match of two mortar masters here going head to head. So you can see this mortar, we're going to go ahead and distract it, and the opponent's going to go ahead and zap those bats. So this is going to be the first kind of crappy situation here for Anaban, and this is a moment where I probably would have just logged and then cycled to spear goblins and finish off that mortar. However, Anaban decides not to, and this is what I like when I'm watching my videos. I've mentioned this before in the past, but when I'm watching the gameplay that I share with you guys, and I hope you guys do the same, is sometimes you should think about what would you do in these circumstances, and then see what the pro does, and then see, okay, why did he make that decision when I wouldn't have? And that's one of those cases where we played the mortar offensively. Not like we had a ton of value with it, but, you know, those decisions is what I'm really interested in when I'm dissecting this gameplay myself. So you can see he played the offensive mortar, and I believe he's going to do a predictive rocket here that's going to be really crazy in a moment here, and it's not going to be on the tower. He's actually going to rocket. Look at this. He places his mortar, and then he predictively rockets the opponent's mortar instead, so he can one-shot that mortar, and then he throws down the log and the Nado against the Goblin Gang and the Minion Horde, and we end up getting more damage on that tower than we would have gotten with the rocket thanks to the 3 mortar shots. So wow, that was really well executed there by Anaban, using the rocket, predictive rocket, against the opponent's mortar. And that's something you guys can do too. If you're going against the opponent and he keeps throwing down the mortar at the same position there when you throw down your mortar, or same thing goes with Expo, if they keep placing that defensive Expo, you can place your mortar first and then just rocket predictively. It's a gamble, of course, but it really paid off for Anaban there, and it actually made the difference in this match. So all he needs now is 2 more rocket log cycles, and so that basically, once he gets it down to around 1350, exactly where it was, I think a little bit more than that he can afford, depending on your spell levels, of course. You can basically just switch to the defensive mortar and play a little bit of defense, and of course just keep cycling to your spells, especially in a mirror matchup here. Of course, the opponent, while his deck is really annoying and has a lot of strong threats, it doesn't have the spell power that our deck has. So we're able to finish it off there. The opponent not happy. Very well played. So guys, I hope you enjoyed this video. Huge shout out again to Anaban for coming back on the channel again. It's always awesome sharing his gameplay with you guys. And also wanted to note that Stats Royale now has the recent 20 game decks, or 20 game winning, or 12 game winning decks and grand challenges up to like the hour. So you can see what decks, you can visit there and see what decks are winning right now. You can see it in the back of the screen right now, but I really like this feature. I actually suggested it to them to add, and they did. So really happy about that. So check that out along with Anaban Stats. Stats Royale is, of course, a new partner here on CWA Mobile Gaming. And of course, check out Bren Chong, my long time partner here on CWA. He's doing tournaments and giveaways and all kinds of awesome stuff on his Twitter and Instagram account. You can see that in the description below. So guys, thanks so much for watching, and as always, take care, guys.